guys, and welcome to another video broadcast. My name is Diane, and tonight we are going to be discussing healthy food habits and educating your kids about healthy food habits, and also making sure that we maintain a healthy emotional relationship for our kids as well. So if you are joining me on Facebook, welcome. Make sure you hit that like button. And under the follow section on my Facebook page, if you click all notifications, you will be notified whenever I do a live broadcast, so you can jump on and we can have some communication back and forth live. As always, if you feel like you have a friend that might need to see this broadcast, feel free to share this broadcast on your Facebook page. And I always appreciate those likes, thumbs up, and hearts, so that I know that what I am presenting to you guys is of interest to you. If you are joining me on YouTube in my upload in the morning, I usually upload at 5:30 in the morning every morning. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I do try to upload every Monday through Friday so that you have a fresh video to enjoy during the week. Always feel free to leave me some comments, whether you're catching this live or in a recorded version or rebroadcast. I do review my video posts regularly, and I will always go back and answer your questions live. Or not live, in the comment section. Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about teaching our kids about healthy eating habits without making our kids food phobic or too self-conscious about food or too self-conscious about body image. And this is something that we take really seriously in our house, and probably because I grew up in a house that didn't really focus on those things, and we had some definite food issues in our house and body image things that were kind of created, and no fault to my parents. I'm sure that they did the best that they could with whatever it is that they were kind of brought up on. And my parents grew up both in a time where, you know, my mom grew up on a farm most of the time, and she had three sisters and another brother, so it was 5 kids, and they lived on a farm, and they lived in a small house, and you know, times weren't great economically, so they had to do with food what they could do with food. And my dad was in the same predicament. He had a lot of brothers and sisters, and my grandfather was in the Navy, and my grandmother stayed home, and so they had food things that they dealt with, and they grew up in an era where you had to eat everything that was on your plate. And we sort of grew up in that same sort of environment. And in my house in particular, we didn't grow up in a very healthy emotional household. And so I grew up with a lot of body image issues that were the result of just like offhanded remarks that my father used to say, and the same sort of thing with my mom, and food issues. And so I just grew up very unhealthy with food. And when I was a very young adult, for some reason, and I'm grateful for this, for whatever reason it was that I grew up with these skills, but I just sort of knew that there was things that I needed to do on my own to sort of investigate food. And I have always been intrigued with how you can use food to manipulate not only your physique, but your health as well. And it's always just been something that's come very naturally to me. So I think that might have just been because of my past, I don't know. But I've always just been very passionate about it, and I know a lot of you have said that you've noticed that in my videos, so I appreciate that. I am very passionate about it. And that goes a step farther with me, in that I pay very close attention to how I'm raising my children and sort of the image that I portray in general around other kids, most specifically women or the young girls in my life. And I really do try to educate my daughter, and then any other girls that are coming through our house, on how to eat healthy and how to kind of have a good body image. And I try to be a good example of that for myself. And so the two really big tips that I kind of want to share with you guys, and then we'll kind of go into a little bit more depth of what I want to talk about, are: one, if you're worried about your daughter or even your son seeing something that might trigger them to become unhealthy with their relationship with food, then you got to take a second and pause and look at what you're exuding to them and what example that you're setting for them. And are you food phobic? And are you negative around food? And is everything with food that you're kind of expressing or exemplifying having to do with your own negative self-image with your body, and is food related to how you're unhappy with what your body is at a current stage in your life. And if you exemplify that, then they're going to mirror that, and they're going to grow up with that sort of history of food. And I've done a video before about what your food story is, and your food story and how you grew up in your household usually translates into what your food story will play out to be as an adult. And so if you grew up in a household with maybe a mom that wasn't really healthy about her body image, or wasn't really healthy about what she was doing with her food, or just negative in general about how she was feeling, then that's your story, and that's imprinted in who you are as a woman, as an adult, unless you consciously do some things to make some changes to that. And that often takes some work. And if we don't really notice that that could be a problem or a negative image that we're offsetting maybe to our children, then we kind of don't do the work, and then our kids end up kind of growing up with those food stories that aren't very positive either. Again, I don't know how I realized that for myself, but I have been through lots of books and lots of Oprah and Dr. Phil and Phil Donahue and all those shows. And I was able to kind of just fix my brain and my kind of emotional state with all of that. And I'm very aware of it, and I try to do it for my daughter in a way that doesn't seem like I'm shoving that down her throat either, because that could also be the reverse problem when you're too hypersensitive to it. But I'm very aware of what I portray out as far as my body image and food, and how the relationship goes together. And then the second tip that I want to say is you want to make sure that you're educating your children and not preaching to them about healthy habits. So my daughter is very aware of what we go through with the soy and the gluten and the dairy, but we do it in a way that we educate her on why it is that we avoid certain things. And with the dairy in my daughter, it's very obvious because she has major intolerances to dairy. But we don't forbid dairy from her in her life. We've educated her on what happens if you eat XYZ. And so she knows that if she goes to a birthday party and she has pizza and an ice cream sundae, she's not going to feel well. And we give her the opportunity to make a choice for herself. And we basically say it like this: hey Gabs, there's going to be ice cream and pizza at this party. You know, if you eat both of those things, you're probably going to get a stomach ache and you're not going to feel well for the remainder of the party. So I need you to take a second and think about that and how you're going to feel, and is that worth it to you? And then we let her go and be empowered with her knowledge and make her own emotional decisions for herself about food. And oftentimes it's not worth it to her, and so she doesn't partake in that, or she'll eat pizza and rip the top off and not eat the cheese and just eat the crust, or whatever it is that she's doing, because she relates food to how she feels physically and not how she's going to feel emotionally. We've done that with gluten, and we've also done that with soy. With my daughter, she's seen some of the health struggles that I have had in the last couple of years with my hormones and with soy. And so we've educated her, and she's a young woman coming up through the ranks of hormonal changes, and hers are just spiking up and mine are winding down, but the damage is kind of the same for both of us. And so we've just educated her on what too much soy is going to do for her little body, and is she ready for that to happen to her? And she's not ready for that to happen to her. So she loves grocery shopping with me, and she's my expert label reader, and she knows if she picks up an item and she reads the ingredients in it and it has soy of any form, she knows to put that back on the shelf and look through the product right next to it, pull it off, read the ingredients, and most times there's no soy in the very next one. Because that's what I teach in my courses. Like when you are in a store and there's 100 different spaghetti sauces, you're going to find one that doesn't have soy in it. You just got to turn over enough labels until you get the one that's going to meet your nutritional needs. And she's very skilled in that, and she knows how to do it, and she knows why she does it. Nothing that we do with food in our house has to do with the way our bodies look. It always has to do with the way our bodies feel. And is doing something with food worth having a bad feeling? Or is it going to be worth having a bloated, gassy stomach? Or is it going to be worth being tired tomorrow? And sometimes it is. I mean, sometimes it's just nice to have some cake and ice cream. for my daughter, especially being a 10-year-old girl. And sometimes it's not. And we have empowered her to make those decisions for herself. And with my son, he's been having some really bad acne problems. And I've done the research on a lot of this over-the-counter or even pharmaceutical grade acne medicine and the damage that it's doing to these poor young bodies that are going through, again, all these hormonal changes. And so we've sort of educated my son on that, and he doesn't want to take the risk. And so we are working with him in some nutritional changes, and he knows that usually stress and lack of sleep, and he's a very, very busy junior in high school. Lack of sleep and stress kind of go hand in hand with the phase of life that he's in, but he knows how to kind of keep manage his sleep, manage his stress, and monitor his nutrition. And those three things, when they're in balance, his acne is totally under control. And so food for him is another one of those things. Like, if you want to eat that, you know in a couple of days you're going to have a huge acne breakout. Is that worth it to you? Sometimes if it's a long weekend and it'll clear up before he goes back to school, it is worth it to him. And then there's times where he has to go to school and he doesn't want to deal with the face that's all broken out and he feels self-conscious about, and so he makes a better nutritional choice. So my two big tips, if you are worried about maybe some nutritional changes that you're trying to make and whether it's going to rub off on your kids, and for moms, especially your daughters, if you're worried about it rubbing off on them as being something that's unhealthy emotionally, I need you to look into two things. The first one is, what are you exemplifying? Are you putting out a message that what it is you're doing is all based on aesthetics and bad emotion, or are you doing it to prepare your body to be healthy as you age? And really expressing to your family and your loved ones why it's important for you not only to do this for yourself, but for them to support you as well. And if you explain the whys of it and you and what you're doing it for the long term, all families come around. I mean, they may be afraid that you're going to try to shove it down their throat and they have to do the same things that you're doing. So just assure them that it's your journey and that you just need to back them up, and it's all for health reasons, and so that you can be the woman that you want to be as you age. And then the second thing is educate your kids. Make sure that you're educating them about the benefits of eating a healthy diet and the benefits of taking some things out of your diet that just aren't worth it, and teaching them what it means to eat real, clean, healthy food and a balanced diet. And yes, even exemplifying what you're doing with intermittent fasting. And your kids will then be able to relate food choices to smart, educated decisions, as opposed to food choices based on some emotional sort of memory or reaction that they have from their childhood. So you can create an amazing food story for your children that they can carry on into their life as parents, and then they can create healthy food stories for their kids as well. So I wanted to kind of share a book with you guys really quick that made a huge impact on my life and how I wanted to be a mother to my daughter. That was a little different than the relationship I had as a daughter to my mother. And it really kind of opened my eyes to what a powerful relationship we have with our kids as mothers, and how much influence that we have and kind of control we have over them. And if we don't realize that, how damaging that can be, or how amazing that can be. And sometimes it's just a slight little tweak in what we're doing or what we're saying or how we're acting that can change something from being emotionally damaged to emotionally empowering with our kids. And that book is called Mother-Daughter Wisdom. It's by Christiane Northrup. I've also read a couple of her other books. She's amazing at detailing how it is you can craft an amazing story through the relationship that you have with your kids by educating them and having a really open relationship with them. And this is really based on really building a healthy relationship health-wise as well for you and your daughter. And a lot of the health problems that she had, she could point back and connect with some like bad emotional times with her own mother and some of the like holes in their relationship, and how she kind of details that we're very powerful creatures in the lives of our children. We're so connected to them because they were bonded to us. And we really have control and power of making sure that they are emotionally healthy. And this book was amazing. And if you have daughters, even she describes what she's done for her daughter with all the hormone changes that her daughter went through, and how they celebrated, when her daughter started her menstrual cycle, and how her daughter grew up so healthy with managing all those things with her body, because it was never a bad thing, and it was always something that they celebrated, and it was this time of renewal for her body, and it was just beautiful. And so that's what we're going to do with our daughter, and it's based off what I've learned from this book. And you can do the same things for your sons. If you're a mom of just boys, this stuff still applies, because your son's going to probably have a wife one day and maybe have some daughters himself. And how great would that be if you can impress upon your son how important it is to pay attention and be kind and gentle and allow a woman some grace when their body is going through some difficult times, and really teach your sons and husbands, maybe if you need to, about what it takes and what your wife is going through, and why we need to be a little bit more patient and kind with us women, so that our marriages can even be a little bit better. And we're just not educated on all that stuff hormonally, and food plays a huge part in that, because as we start to get older and as we start to age and things start to break down, there's a lot of conflict and a lot of tension that goes on in households between husbands and wives and our moms and kids, and it's just a lack of education, and we have the resources to educate ourselves. This is an excellent one right here, Mother-Daughter Wisdom. So if you don't have this book, I would highly recommend picking it up. I think you can get it on Amazon. It's a thick book, but it's a quick read. Like, you could literally just read it like an encyclopedia and sit down with a cup of tea and open it up on any page, and you're going to get some amazing insight. You don't have to read it cover to cover. I personally did, because I was reading it for a very specific healing purpose. I read it after I had my miscarriage, before I had my daughter, and it really did play a huge part in my emotional healing process with everything that I was going through. So this is a really good healing book. If you have a damaged relationship with your mom as a grown woman, it will really help you with that, whether your mom's still living or passed, it doesn't matter. It will make sense out of why us women sometimes have difficult times establishing healthy relationships with each other. And just because you're a daughter or you're a mother doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be healthy. We do have to work at it, and we have to educate ourselves and give ourselves some skill sets to make it work and be healthy. So if you're worried about your kids and healthy food habits because you're making food changes, make sure you're setting a good example of what a healthy eater is, and explain to them why it is you're making these changes. Ask them for some grace and some patience while you go through it. Don't shove anything that you're doing down their throat, but instead educate them so that they understand the why it is that you're doing something. Always make sure it's based on a health reason, and don't make it so focused on the fact that you're just unhappy with the way your body looks. And that will help create really healthy relationships, and they'll be more willing to support you. Okay, so let's see what kind of questions we have or comments we have here today. We got a lot here, so I'm going to scroll through really quick. All my usual ladies are here. Let's see. Hi. Okay, Pamela, you're awesome that you're on vacation in Hawaii and you're hanging out with us. That is cool. Okay, Callie in the house, awesome. Hello to Star, hi. Okay, I don't see any questions. Anybody have any questions about this book, or maybe some things you can do with your kids as far as creating healthy relationship? I explained that foods made in nature are best. Problem we have is that my daughter would eat 3 bananas if I let her. Jessica, if your daughter wants to eat 3 bananas, like this is how you get around that. Buy small bananas. Like, you know, we often tend, and I think I did this in a video too, where I say how I buy bananas. If I buy bananas by the each, I buy them big. And if I buy bananas by the pound, I buy them small. Because if you're buying by the pound, you're just whatever you put on the scale is what you're going to pay for. But if they're by the each, I try to buy them large, because then they're just more banana for your buck kind of thing. If you buy large bananas, take them home, cut them up, and put them in the freezer so you can save them for shakes or whatever you have to do. And if you buy them small, then let your daughter have 3 bananas. Like, who cares? Like, she'll be okay. she'll grow out of that phase, and then you won't have to worry about anything, because the message you're putting behind it is it's better to eat 3 bananas than to go eat a box of cookies or whatever. And she'll get that reaching for whole real food will be better for her in the long run. So I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. Or maybe just offer some other options while she's eating her bananas. Pamela, bananas are just high in sugar, but that's okay. Jess, I would say let her do it. She'll be fine. What's the whole food? It's a whole food, not processed sugar. I don't get what that means. My kid could kill the bananas also. Okay, so that's another one of those things. Okay, so let your kid eat 3 bananas and then let them feel what happens to their bodies. So if you eat 3 bananas and then you get constipated, have them talk that through with you. So you ate 3 bananas and your stomach didn't feel very well and you had a hard time going to the restroom. Do you think that was worth it? Like, that's the same kind of conversation. Was eating 3 bananas worth what you had to go through in the bathroom yesterday or whenever it was? And let them decide. They're like, yeah, I love bananas so much, I don't mind being constipated. Sweet, eat 3 bananas. Or like, ooh, no, I kind of didn't like that. Oh, okay, so next time we go reach for some bananas, why don't we try 1 and then see how your stomach feels? And if your stomach feels better, only eating 1 banana instead of 3 bananas, then maybe 1's a better option. Let them logic through it and let them relate eating 3 bananas to how their body felt. Let them figure it out for themselves, because if you just said to them, don't eat 3 bananas aren't good for you, that doesn't make sense to them. They can't relate the 2 situations together. But eating 3 bananas and being stuck in the bathroom with the stomach ache because you can't go to the bathroom, they'll put that in their brain and go, oh yeah, emotionally, I don't like the way that felt. You're right, Mom, I think 1 banana will be enough. Then you're not fighting with them because they made the decision. You're not telling them what to do. Okay, the book name is Mother Daughter Wisdom. Sugar is sugar. Really, fruit sugar is like high fructose corn syrup. Okay, so Pamela, when you, like, this is the way I describe sugar. A banana and a Snickers bar, to us on the outside, good sugar, bad sugar. In your body, once it's ingested, it's sugar. Your body doesn't break down good sugar from bad sugar. Your body has the same sugar response whether you eat a banana or whether you eat a Snickers bar. So internally, they're the same exact sugar. High fructose corn syrup, hydrogenized whatever, and a banana inside your body, it's the same insulin reaction. It doesn't matter. Bananas and Snicker bars are pretty much equal on the glycemic index. They will put your kid in a sugar tizzy. So there is some concern when you're eating 3 bananas, but like I said, if it causes your kid to have constipation, have them relate constipation to 3 bananas and let them make the decision whether that's worth that to them or not, and they'll grow out of it. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, anything else? Good stuff. Okay, Trader Joe's has small bananas. There you go. So I always buy small bananas. Yes, Costco does have steroid bananas, but I think you buy them by the bunch. So that's where you would just take them home and cut them up and put them in the freezer. Maybe leave 1 or 2 bananas on the counter that you have fresh. My biggest concern is bad breath during the fasting state. What can be done because mints don't seem to really do the work? Okay, Marcy, here's one of those double-edged swords. So when you're fasting and you have bad breath, that's because your body is burning ketones, and that means you're in a fat adaptive state. So you actually want to have bad breath when you're fasting, because that means you're in a fat adaptive state, and you're like probably pretty close to, when you're burning those ketones, you're getting really close to that autophagy state, which is that self-healing state. So we strive for bad breath as intermittent fasters. Sorry, that's just the way it is. So maybe look for a different brand of mints. I shared with someone today, we use a brand of mints called Ice Chips. And you can find them online. There's nothing in there that's bad as far as sweeteners or preservatives or anything like that. And just drink lots of water, maybe chew a piece of gum. I know people are all freaked out about chewing gum and whether they're breaking their fast. Just don't chew any gum that has any fake sugar in it, and you'll be fine. And have a half a piece or a smidgen of a piece or whatever you got to do for your breath. Put some mouthwash in your desk at work. You'll be fine. Like, you want to have bad breath because that's when you're burning ketones. We celebrate in our fasting group when people report in that their breath is bad. Yes, you are fat adaptive, and there's also fat that's burning off your body, and your body's healing internally. And there's so many great things associated with keto breath that you'll learn to love it. I know it sounds weird, but you'll learn to love it. Trust me. Okay, cool. Let's see. Anything else? So you don't think portion control matters with kids if it's healthy foods? I freak out and panic. Okay, Jessica, freaking out and panicking is what's going to cause your kids to have unhealthy food habits as they grow up. So unless there's a concern that you have with maybe like obsessive sort of eating or whatever, that can sometimes be the same problems that we have. Maybe your kids are bored. So if they're in the house and they're like sort of obsessively eating, they might be actually bored. That might be a good time to get them out and play, or maybe change their train of thought and get them somewhere else. The other thing that I really try to teach with parenting and kids is this thing I hear all the time. But there's goldfish in the house for the kids. Your kids don't eat goldfish. Your kids are going to only eat the food that you put in your cart, pay for at the cashier, put in your car, and then put in your pantry. So if you're concerned about how much and what your kids are eating, stop buying crappy food and using your kids as an excuse for it. Right? So if there's only fruits and vegetables in the house, or there's only healthy snacks in the house, then your kids are only going to eat healthy food. You just solved a majority of your problems right there. So don't use your kids as an excuse to buy junky food. Your kids don't need to snack either. Like that whole snacking thing is a new phenomenon brought up by the food industry. Your kids don't need to snack all day. They can have a healthy breakfast, they can have a healthy lunch, and they can have a healthy dinner. They're fine. Like they don't need to eat snacks every hour, every 2 hours. Take them out of the house. Your kids will be fine. Teach them how to eat sensibly. And will it be a revolt in the beginning? Yeah, probably. But they'll get over it. And if your kids are young enough, they won't even remember it. So just make sure that you, as the adult in the house, are creating the habits that you want your kids to live with. And if you don't want your kids to eat a certain food, don't bring it in the house. And our rule of thumb is, if we don't want our kids to eat it, we don't bring it in the house. And it's sort of like the grandma rule, right? Your kids go to grandma's house, they eat candy, they eat cookies, that's grandma's rules, they eat whatever they want. That's fine. But in our house, we have a certain style of food that we bring in the house, and I make sure even their snack foods are healthy, so they only have those options. Just be the person that's going to make the choices for them. And then when they're out, or they're at their friend's house, or they're at a grandma's house or whatever, then they play by grandma's rules, and that's fine, and that just makes grandma more cool. And that's okay. What about chewing sugar-free gum? Does that break your fast? Okay, you guys, I don't really, let's see, I was fat adapted. Yeah, Janice, if you have bad breath, you're fat adaptive. It's crazy because we celebrate those things, and it's just what it is. We want bad breath. Okay, so I think Jess had another question. What was it, Jess? What about chewing sugar-free gum? Okay, so you don't want to chew gum that has aspartame or any of those kind of things in it, because those are said to kind of, spike an insulin release in your body. I'm going to say what I say with every single thing when you ask a question about fasting. I don't know if it's going to do anything for your body. You have to give it the 7-day test. So chew gum. Are you still able to maintain the fat adaptive state? And in our course, in the first week, I teach you about the signals of being fat adaptive. So if you weren't chewing gum and you feel fat adaptive, and then you added in gum and you're not feeling fat adaptive, then gum might not work for you. You have to kind of figure that out. I don't have a problem chewing gum, but I eat very specific gum that has kind of passed my test of what healthy gum is. I'll share that in our group with you guys so you know what it is, and mints too. So you have to play with it and see if your body might be that body that is just going to not be responsive to chewing gum. If you are really concerned about healing your body on the inside, I always say more extreme is better. So if you're coming into this with a long list of things that you are kind of ailing with, then I say take as much out as you can comfortably live with, and give intermittent fasting a true test of your time and see how quickly you can get your body healed. Because as I always say, your body will not let go of weight or will not let go of fat until it's done healing itself. And we don't know truly what's going on inside our body that needs to be healed until it's healed or it becomes a problem. And so let's err on the side of healing ourselves first. Let our body get to that point where it's losing weight and losing fat. Then we can be a little bit more flexible. These things that we do when we cut out things and test things are not for your lifetime. It's just to see how your body responds, because we don't know. We've never really been that diligent about paying attention to our body and seeing what results it has. The bananas and constipation are a perfect thing. Like, you don't know if you're going to be constipated by eating 3 bananas until you eat 3 bananas. Like, because Jack down the street might not have the same problem as you. So he might be able to eat 3 bananas, but you might not be able to. So I always say just test it out for yourself and see how you feel and see what your body is doing. You will know when your body is fat adaptive, and you will know when your body falls out of being in a fat adaptive state. Once you know what fat adaptive feels like, you don't want to drop out. So you'll get very, very particular about what it is you kind of give way to and what you don't, because that feeling of fat adaptive is a feeling you don't ever want to leave your body. It's a magical, peaceful place, and it's absolutely amazing. Bad breath and all, trust me. And you guys know, I talk about it all the time. It took me a year to figure out my combination of food before I lost weight. And then when I lost my weight, I lost 13 pounds. I have no idea when I lost 13 pounds. I have no idea how I lost 13 pounds. All I know is I walked by a mirror one day and I didn't realize that that was my body connected to my head, because it looked completely different. And my body looked thin and it looked fit, and I didn't see any visible body fat on it. And I hadn't had that feeling when looking at my body for a very long time. And again, I can't trace it back to the day it happened, because I was on a process of just healing my body, and I wasn't focused on losing weight. I wasn't focused on losing fat. I just didn't want to be unhappy, and I didn't want to be sick anymore. And when I took the pressure off myself about losing weight and losing body fat, my body was healed. And as soon as it was healed, it let go of all the weight, because I was doing all the right things to lose weight and lose fat. I just wasn't hyper-focused on it. So if you're coming into this course and you're hyper-focused on losing weight, and you're hyper-focused on all the fat on your body, and you're not focused on healing your body, then it's going to take a little bit longer, and you might end up getting frustrated. So that's why I don't ask for a before weight. That's why I don't ask for measurements. That's why I don't ever want to see before and after pictures, because I don't care. If you're coming to me sick, all I want you to do is leave healed. If you lose weight, I think that's fantastic. If you don't, that's fine too. I just want to know that you're feeling better and that you're feeling more empowered about your life going forward, and you feel healthier around your food. The weight part, like it happened with me, will fall off. And one day you'll walk by a mirror and you won't know whose body's connected to your head, and you'll be pleasantly surprised that it is you connected to you. And then you will have won. You will never struggle with food again, because the struggle will be over. You'll figure out your plan. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Stephanie, can I tell your goldfish story really quick? I'm sure she won't care, because I've said it in our Facebook group. So my girl Stephanie just rattled off what she was taking to work one day. Like, I have my this, I have my that, I have my goldfish, I have my this. And she had her like day's worth of food. And I said, oh, Stephanie, where does goldfish fit into your plan? And I don't remember exactly what she said, but she said something along the lines of like, oh, well, they're for my kids or whatever. And so, like, okay, like, why would you do that to your kids? Why wouldn't you give them some other kind of snack to eat? And of course, goldfish are not damaging to kids or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But it was just like, okay, well, that's nice that you, okay, first of all, you're too old to eat goldfish. Like, you should have some mature food. And how pissed are your kids going to be that you're eating their goldfish if they're for them, right? So I went online and I found out the calorie and fat content for a serving of goldfish. And I found out the calorie and fat content for an avocado. And surprisingly, an avocado was a much healthier option than a goldfish. But Stephanie was scared to eat an avocado because of all the fat and calories in it. We need to not be scared of eating real food that has fat and calories in it, and be a little bit more afraid of eating food that has a lot of fat and calories in it and absolutely no nutritional value for us. So now we affectionately call Stephanie's avocados goldfish, because now she eats an entire avocado, and I haven't heard her talk about eating goldfish since. But again, it's just that thing where it's like we're just not educated, and that's our society doing that to us. So always eat an avocado, and I teach women all the time to never let an avocado ever go brown in your possession. When you sit down to eat an avocado, you need to sit with a fork and a knife, and you need to open that avocado up, remove the pit, sprinkle some salt and pepper on it, and eat the entire avocado. Do not put anything in the refrigerator for later. Do not let that avocado turn brown and yucky on you. Eat the entire avocado. And when you get really comfortable with that, you'll understand what that's doing for your body and how that's going to heal your body, and how you won't really need goldfish ever again, because why would you eat goldfish when you can have an avocado? So give yourself some permission to eat some real food, you guys. It's okay. Fat is good for us. Okay, so that's the avocado goldfish story. Any other questions before I pop off here tonight? I have another full night of consult calls. So if you're in my May group, make sure you have your consult call booked. My calendar is jam-packed, so I want to make sure that we get you in around the time that you're in the group. So sometime in May, hopefully. And I will be up all night doing calls if I need to get everyone in. I'm absolutely loving the calls. Okay, so I think I hit everybody's questions and comments. Okay, I have been keto for 1.5 years. It's a wonderful lifestyle. I am at the healthiest I have ever been. 59 this weekend. There you go, Betty. 59 years old and healthiest she has ever been. Okay, so one cool thing, avocados are the size of grapefruits in Hawaii. Pamela, we are coming to Hawaii, girlfriend. I can't even imagine how great that would be. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to say about keto, and I know people are super into keto, and I always appreciate people who are. I personally don't follow a ketogenic diet because I don't do anything that has the word diet attached to it. It scares me. I don't even like to teach that stuff. But some people are good with that, and I always say that's awesome. That's your thing. So I always teach that you just want to live a lifestyle within food that meets your personal guidelines and makes you happy and healthy around food. So I can't do a ketogenic diet because I have to give up too many grams of carbohydrates and to be in a ketogenic state, and that's not a happy life for me, and so I choose not to follow their diet plan by the rules. I do, however, live a very high fat, moderate protein, conscious carbohydrate diet. So I don't take carbohydrates out. I'm just very aware of how many carbohydrates I put into my diet. That has served me very well. I'm at the weight I like to be at. I'm like the body fat percentage I like to be at. I'm energized. I'm healthy. I've cured my body. I'm fine following that loosey-goosey of a plan. And so that's what I teach women to do. If you are the kind of person that has to be dialed in, that's fine, but I won't teach that to you because I can't live that drilled down and that dedicated to someone else's diet. So high fat, moderate protein, conscious carbohydrates are what I teach in my program, and it really has healed my relationship with food. It doesn't make me food phobic. I feel like I could be a social person at a party. I'm not stressed out about holidays. I'm not stressed out about birthdays. I'm not stressed out about special events. Everything fits into my diet plan because there's no tight regulations on it. And so that's what I really try to teach you. And if you want to take it a step further and manage carbs, grams, and you want to manage calories and you want to portion control, that will be okay on you, but I won't teach that, and I don't really kind of manage that in my group at all, because to me, in my personal experience and the women that I've worked with over the past 25 years, it doesn't create a very healthy environment. And when we're not in a healthy food environment for ourselves that fits our lifestyle, then we're not very happy women, and we've had enough of that. I don't like to live that place, and I don't like to teach that either. So I want to be happy with my food. I want to be happy with my people. And then I'm teaching my family to do the same thing. So hopefully I've kind of eased some of your concerns about trying to live a healthy lifestyle, trying to live an intermittent fasting lifestyle around your kids. One thing that it's done for me and my family, and me as a mom in particular, is I no longer shove food down my kids' throats. I let them determine when they're ready to eat. Dinner doesn't always have to be at the same time. Dinner doesn't have to look a certain way. Breakfast can be at noon. Breakfast can be at 3 in the afternoon. We don't live by those standards at all anymore. And my mornings in my house have become so less stressed out. And my kids leave to school so much happier when I'm not cramming a bunch of carbohydrates down their throat in the morning before school. They're fine. Pack them a healthy snack. Pack them a healthy lunch, and when they come home at night, make sure they have a very well-balanced dinner. They will be fine. You do not have to shove breakfast down your kids' throats. I understand there are some kids who need breakfast. Those are the kids that need breakfast. There are some kids that don't need breakfast. Treat those kids as the kids that don't need breakfast. All I ask that my kids do is make sure that they have a big glass of water to start their day. Then they can decide what they want to do with their food intake. And sometimes my daughter just has a glass of Ripple milk. It has some protein, it has some fat, it has some calories in it. She doesn't need to eat anything. My son is 17. He makes his own decisions. He decides what he wants to eat for breakfast. I no longer shove it down their throat. That has totally relieved me of stress in the morning, and it makes me feel like they're going to school happy. They have a snack in their lunch. They can eat it when they're ready. And then they have their lunch, and then they have a dinner with the family that is well-balanced. They're happy, healthy, well-balanced kids. So if you're struggling with your kids and you're having those fights in the morning, take a step back and know that it's okay if they go to school a little fasted. My son has reported back to us that he feels his brain is clear and that he can function better with his academics at school. He realized that for himself. We didn't have to do that for him, so we don't push it anymore. Okay, if you're catching this in the replay or on YouTube, definitely feel free to leave me some comments below. I will go back and answer them. If you have friends that may be concerned about their kids and some nutrition stuff going on in their house, definitely feel free to share this to them. And then tomorrow's Thursday. So I'll be back here tomorrow night, Thursday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have a topic you would like me to share with you, definitely feel free to reach out to me. This topic tonight came out of my May Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman group. We had some moms in there kind of concerned about, what to do about their fasting schedule and their kids, and that brought up tonight's subject. So I definitely have no problem sharing some ideas or thoughts with the community of women that we have here. If you feel like it would be beneficial to others, I will definitely address it here. If you're looking to join into my intermittent fasting group, we close the doors on Friday. I don't know what time we're going to close the doors. It'll probably be that thing where if we start to feel stressed out about getting ready for the May group, we might close it a little earlier. So don't hesitate on jumping in. There is going to be a price increase for future months. So if you're on the fence, I would highly recommend getting in.